if there is any director who is like one of the most underrated, it is John Carpenter. Even a lot of his greats, like Halloween, for example, which is like my favorite slasher film or horror film of all time. You know, like I watch it every year for Halloween. You know, that's how much I like it. I don't think it gets the respect that it deserves still. I mean, maybe I'm wrong on that, but or maybe it's just that I'm older, you know, and I just like I look at young people as like, man, you don't know this movie was like something else. You know what I'm saying? When I was a kid, you know, like I remember like this was like, oh, Halloween.
Talking about Halloween, I agree with you. Have you watched the other Halloween movies that come out that John Carpenter has not done? Well, besides one and two, actually, I should say.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, you know,
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry. It's just you could tell they're not they're not very memorable. There's something about John Carpenter's style that
Hmm.
it's not. It's like he's able to capture cinematography, and
Uh-huh.
he writes his own music. So it's
Hmm.
like he has this. It's a oh man, I don't know how to describe it. It's like really good cinema. It's not you're not getting just a
Hmm.
popcorn film. You're getting an experience.
Yeah.
You, yeah. Sorry.
I think that's like I think auteur is the word I'm probably you know is the word that gets thrown around a lot
Hmm.
when you're talking about like a director that has like a specific style that's recognizable. And definitely when you're watching a John Carpenter film, you know, like you hit upon the music. Like I always remember watching, I forget which film it was. It may have been Escape from New York that I was watching with an old girlfriend. And when she saw that it said music by John Carpenter, she said, "No kidding," you know, because you know that this is John Carpenter's music. It's just a way that he does the music, and this goes all the way back to like Assault on Precinct 13, I think it's called, which is like before Halloween, you know, and you can see like what eventually evolves into the Carpenter style and what goes into like Halloween much later on. But even back then, he was doing his own music and stuff, and he was doing things his own way. And like I said, just underrated, just such a talent. Like I was watching something recently, and I think that you know it was an interview with Carpenter where he was kind of like saying, I want an apology from all those critics, you know, and I think he deserves one. He got no respect, and he was making such good movies, you know, and I mean, these were movies that were like, they were in some instances they got the critical renown, but for whatever reason they just weren't taking off at the box office or whatever. Or in the case of The Thing, where like some people were just like, oh, this is so gory or whatever. Again, such a great movie, another classic,
Yeah,
you know.
I'm not sure what was going on in the '80s that people weren't recognizing how good his films were. Like The Thing is such an incredible horror movie. It's I think they a lot of people call them the cosmic horror trilogy of The Thing, Prince of Darkness, and The Mouth of Madness. And those
Oh,
three
Prince of
movies,
Darkness.
they scared the crap out of me still. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he's able to make you feel what the characters are feeling. This fight against this unmanageable horror. To me it's like wow, this feels too
Mhm.
real. I want to back out of it because it captures my attention so much.
And then of course there's Big Trouble in Little China because
Which is a different type of film that he's done. I mean, he's everyone knows John Carpenter probably is more known for his horror movies, but Big Trouble in Little China is probably and he's done action films, but this is like a an action comedy, you know,
Mhm.
with like mysticism, supernatural, and martial arts. You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of different tropes in this movie, and you know, in a way, especially something like this from the '80s, it shouldn't work. It should not have lasted the test of time.
Mhm.
But the way it's written so maturely. You have these Asian characters that are not don't suffer from
Stereotypes.
any don't suffer from any stereotypes, these negative tropes, and
Mhm.
it just still very entertaining.
Yeah.
It's not cringy, you know, like some of
Yeah.
the other like some of
It
the
still holds
other
up. It still
yes.
holds up to this day. Well, you know, the thing about it is, right? Because yeah, it's different because it's a comedy versus his other stuff that was like horror. But what's funny is because Howard Hawks was the director that probably had the most influence on Carpenter, I once heard. And it was really funny because I was watching a video, I think Cold Crash Pictures is the name of the creator. He did a video about the thing, and he talked about the Hawks version. He showed scenes from it. While you can say that Big Trouble in Little China is so different, it really isn't because you can really see the Hawks influence even in Big Trouble in Little China. Like the scene, for example, where Kurt Russell goes to the door and he's like, okay, we're gonna go out this door and then we're gonna go this way or whatever, like he's like, he's telling everybody like the plan for like getting out of there. And then he opens the door and all like the villains are behind it, and he closes the door, and that came right out of the thing from outer space, is that what I believe that's what the film is called, the Howard Hawks version of the thing. Um, it's almost like beat for beat. There's a scene, and it's ridiculous especially when you think of Big Trouble in Little China because it was so funny and it was played for laughs when it was done in Big Trouble in Little China, And then when you see the Howard Hawks thing movie, when the guy opens the door and the thing is like right behind the door and he closes it, it's just it becomes ridiculous, But again, it's there the style, the essence, the spirit of John Carpenter is very much in that film, even though it's a different genre from his other stuff at the time.
You have to be a really good director and a really good storyteller to make Kurt Russell's character, Jack Burton, to be one of the main characters of the story and probably the most recognizable actor in this movie, but also come across as like lovable but bumbling idiot at the same time. He thinks he's the main character of the story.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There was an article I read one time that said it best. He is a sidekick who thinks that he's the main character, or he's a sidekick who thinks he's the hero. And that's exactly what he is, because the hero is Wang Chi really is like the hero there. He's the competent one. He's got the martial arts moves and stuff like that. And Jack Burton really, he thinks he does, but he really doesn't. So he very much is a sidekick who thinks he's the hero.
Yeah, I love. I've always been a fan of James Hong's work. I love his acting. I love the way he's been in. He's been in tons of movies too, and him playing Lo Pan. I thought he did a fantastic job.
Oh yeah.
Again, a good mix of like horrifying, but also comedic at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. One of the greatest villains of all time, in my opinion. Like some people would probably like they probably like balk at my saying that, but I think of Lo Pan all the time when I think of villains, especially like evil sorcerers or whatever. Lo Pan is what always comes to mind, so, something that like, again, some folks might find weird, but that's just me. Lo Pan is it.
And today we're going to talk about how to use GURPS to convert this great movie into a game. So Peter, I know you've done the research about using GURPS to bring Big Trouble Little China into tabletop gaming. Which books would you use for GURPS exactly?
All right. Well, first thing I would start with is GURPS China, which is a third edition book, though we don't hold that against it. Despite the fact that it's a third edition book, it still works very well. I have a lot of third edition books in my collection, and just like every other world or setting book in GURPS that is third edition, this has all the information that you need. Now, Big Trouble in Little China, of course, takes place. It's in the West, but there are Chinese elements. So, and I think that's another reason why, like, what also makes this book so good, because you can just take what works and use that, and you don't have to like use like everything. You don't have to like be so like dogmatic or so by the book with it. Just take the elements that work, in your particular version of San Francisco Chinatown or whatever Chinatown in the US. If you want to like say basically make it up and make it as happening in New York's Chinatown, let's say. So definitely GURPS China is the book that you want to get to start, to basically make your setting. And specifically, I think that what you want to look at are the section on sorcery, which is on page 107. This is really good for pointing out like the best way to do, I guess, sorcery like in a Chinese way or a Chinese style, or that you would see in a story like Big Trouble in Little China. It basically points out, like I said, the style of magic and the type of spells that you might want to use. I would say also as part of that, GURPS Thaumatology has very good section, specifically the Chinese mystical modifiers section, which is located on page 254. That will also give you more information and much more up to date because that is a fourth edition book versus the third edition book. So the two go very well together. Also, going back to thaumatology again for a minute, alchemy is a big part of Chinese magic. So again, thaumatology has a whole section beginning at page 100 explaining how to use alchemy. Another part of GURPS China that I would look at is the bestiary. You have all types of Chinese creatures from China, from Chinese mythology and folklore that you can use in this setting, specifically ghosts. Now there's what's called post spirits, which I think are very interesting. And I think that there is an argument to be made that Lo Pan is basically a post spirit. That is the bad side of the spirit. My understanding of it is that there's what's called Hun and Po. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing these things properly. My apologies to any Chinese speakers if I'm butchering the language. I'm sure that I am, but I basically see it from my understanding of it that Lo Pan is a post spirit, a bad spirit, and while GURPS China doesn't exactly give you stats, it does give you some ideas on how to run this kind of an entity in the campaign. So I think that works very well. Also, I think that's worth mentioning there's what's called great spirits in that same section, things like dragons and gods and whatnot. And so I think that these are all like very good elements.
Last but not least, the last book you recommended, martial arts. Um,
Oh,
uh,
come on. Big Trouble in Little China draws very much from the old kung fu films. Specifically, I think of the Shaw Brothers. Those are always the big ones, and basically no Chinese, no kung fu, no martial arts action would be complete without some martial arts in it. Now, the martial arts that I would recommend are, believe it or not, boxing or bare knuckle boxing, which are found on pages 152 and 153 of martial arts. I would use that for a rough and tumble character like Jack Burton, even though I don't know. Was Jack Burton like really that good a fighter? Because it always seemed like he was kind of getting beaten up or doing something, he was a
it,
little bit incompetent.
it's almost like he had high strength but low dexterity. If I use D&D
Yeah,
terms.
probably. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's probably the
Well,
best way to
well,
put it.
or maybe just bad luck. Because no, there was a part where he did catch the bottle.
Oh, yeah, exactly. There we go. There we
You
go.
know,
So, okay, so you know what? Maybe he had the luck advantage, and he used it at that moment. But or he definitely used it when he caught the knife and then threw it back at Lopan because if you recall, he so missed that first time. So, there's that. But yeah, definitely boxing or bare knuckle boxing for a trucker type character like I said, like Jack Burton. And then of course there's the classics. You can't have a kung fu action movie without Shaolin Kung Fu. Tai Chi Chuan, I think, is also another good one because of the mystical elements in it. There's a lot of interplay of energies, talk of chi and yin and yang, and I think that goes very well with the mystical elements in a Big Trouble in Little China game. And then finally, Wing Chun. another one. You can't have martial arts action without somebody doing Wing Chun. It's like a rule, you know.
What's great about GURPS is that you don't need the core rulebooks to play GURPS. If, for example, I have the Discworld GURPS book, and I
Hmm.
only need that to play Discworld. I don't need to get the
Hmm.
core rulebooks for it, even though they'll probably be a big help anyway.
Yes.
For anyone watching this, I know you mentioned GURPS China, GURPS Dermatology, GURPS Martial Arts. Do you also need the GURPS two main books, GURPS Characters,
Yeah.
GURPS Campaigns? Would you need them as well, would you say?
Definitely don't hurt. I draw from them a lot, you know, and I would definitely tell people like to have them, you know, especially because there isn't. It's not like Dungeon Fantasy where Dungeon Fantasy is very self-contained, and with those you don't need the basic books. I would say you should get them, but you know that's just me. You know, I tend to like want to have everything as we can see behind me, you know.
So, viewers, what is your favorite John Carpenter film? What would you like to see us talk about to convert into GURPS? Huh? Huh?
Mhm.
Huh? What do
Mhm.
you think? Let us know.
Mhm.
Maybe we should talk about The Thing next time, or maybe Halloween. Maybe. You know, but viewers, let us know what you think in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.